When did we lose play in learning? Recently, I was playing with a toy with my son, a little car toy that's got lots of little pieces on it, lots of little sounds that happen when he touches it. And he's just playing, he's just exploring. But suddenly, there's teaching behind it, such as wait for the green light to cross the road, make sure you look both ways at a zebra crossing, don't forget to wear your seatbelt. Plus, he needs to find particular colors of the little piano buttons that are on the keys. Touch the red one, touch the yellow one. And he is just playing, but really he's building life skills subtly in the background. And in learning and in e-learning today, that focus has shifted away from play, and we're focusing really heavily on rote memorization. So we're focusing on recall of information as opposed to application. We're explicitly explaining every single detail of particular processes or particular things. We have very rigid structures of step-by-step processes that are provided to the students, really containing them to a little box rather than being open to their creativity. And when did we stop trusting our learners to explore and to figure things out themselves? Yes, there is a place for foundational theory. There are some concepts that do require that very clear, very structured instructions. I'm not saying that we can replace everything with play. There are specific scenarios such as safety training or specific regulations or very precise skills that need to be followed step by step. They do need instructions, but not everything needs to be provided in a lecture, right? Not everything just needs to be information dumped onto us. Exploration and discovery of these processes, of this information, can really deepen understanding. And we can do this even after sharing some basic information if it's required. If we do need to share some basic information first, then we can look into exploration afterwards. And then I was thinking, when I was playing with my son's toy, I was thinking maybe play is only useful for practical skills, when we're using our hands or when we're moving or when we're doing something quite physical, rather than cognitive abilities when we're thinking. So, for example, when we're learning how to balance or when we're learning how to cross the street, maybe that's when exploration is more useful than other scenarios when we're doing something more cognitive. But when you really think about it, these skills of crossing the street or of balancing, they do require cognitive thinking as well. Right? If I'm crossing the street, I need to think about lots of things such as judging speed, such as looking at the distance between the cars, such as knowing if it's safe to cross the road. All of this is the cognitive thinking that I do while I'm physically doing something. So play isn't just about our physical moving of learning a task. It's also about thinking, adapting, and making decisions. So if we know that we can use play for cognitive and for physical activities, let's have a look at what does play offer that traditional instructions cannot. Okay, so when we use play rather than traditional instructions, we increase our creativity. We're using our problem solving. We're learning how to adapt. We're learning from our mistakes, especially when we're using this in a low risk environment where our consequences are not huge. And it also drives up that internal motivation of using curiosity-driven learning. Now, you might say to me, well, Kat, I have been in a lecture, I have been in a workshop or in a training session where I have used my creativity. I have used my problem solving. Okay, that's great. Let's reflect on that. Let's use that time that you're remembering and think back. What actually happened in that workshop, that lecture, that webinar, that training session that you were in? Were you watching a video when you're using your creativity? Were you listening to someone talk when you're using your problem solving? Were you reading an article when you were using one of these abilities? Probably not. You were probably actively using your creativity in a scenario where you're trying to solve a problem. Or you could have been using your problem solving skills when you're working in groups and you were adapting to different situations that were presented to you in scenarios. Think about that. What was actually happening in that session? Were you active rather than just passively taking information? Were you exploring and experimenting? So now that we've thought of that scenario, how can you bring playfulness back into learning? Or how can we do it collectively? So we can design experiences that let the learner try first before telling them the answers. So think about scenario-based learning, where they might do a particular activity, they might apply their existing knowledge before delving deeper into a topic. Rather than giving them step-by-step instructions, we might give them a challenge or a puzzle, and let's see if they know those steps already. Let's see if they're logical enough to put them in order. And we can also then encourage experimentation, exploration, failure, and reattempts. So what would happen if we trusted our learners a little bit more to figure things out themselves? What will be the benefits of that and the positive consequences of that? So play is not our enemy. It is a way that we can provide foundations of deep, transferable understanding. And if it works for children when they're playing, when they're learning through play, if it works for our children to navigate real life and build real life skills, then why wouldn't it work for us as adults or for our adolescents in high school to be able to learn really complex skills? So today I have one question for you, and I want to challenge yourself. What small change could you make in your own e-learning or learning environments that you have right at the moment, where you can design it to bring a little bit more exploration and play into that learning? So rather than just throwing information at the student, how can you change that around and introduce a little bit of play? Think about that and let me know in the comments below what you feel that you can do. Until next time, happy course creating.